Momentum was interesting because of the way it was shot. It was this fly on the wall perspective, up close and personal in this woman's experience. I'm in the game. I feel the energy of the players. I feel her fatigue. I feel her movement. I'm up close with her relationship. I'm in the ups and downs of it all. It's like there was so many very close ups and close shots and sort of over the shoulder dirty shots where you're like peeking in to conversations you're not supposed to be a part of. I actually found it really interesting because there was no closed captioning for me and I don't speak French. So I'm following it based off the visuals, not based off the words. But I still felt like I can follow that we're having conflict as a couple. I want to feel supported with you. I'm affected by a lack of support, or I'm affected when we have conflict. It affects my game. It affects what I have going on. And I can't function when we're not functioning is the gist that I got, even without any dialogue. I really liked how close the shots were. It really made me feel like I was really in it. And I needed that because I didn't have the dialogue necessarily to help me along. I had nothing but what I was seeing. So I had to really feel like I was connected to it. And I think in the choices of making everything so close and so small, it felt like the camera is right in the midst of the action as opposed to viewing the action from afar. The intimate scenes with the relationship, like when they're in bed, the shot where they're over them as they're cuddling, or when they're, in the party and she sees her from across the room and you see her. And it's almost like the point of view, like the camera is the eye line. I just thought that visually, that was just a very, very strong choice.
This was a really strong film. Great relationship drama, which is always a key element to a good narrative and a great film. They really just dialed it in here. Setting it on the backdrop of rugby just made so much sense. It was just a great layer to that, that question that, you know, so many couples deal with. It was just really well executed. I thought the performances were great. The cinematography was great. Even during the rugby games, the scrims, the way the action was caught, it kind of like you felt like you were right in there. And then the softer scenes too were really nice, lit well. Really a strong film. Great writing, great performances. You couldn't ask for much more. Really good job to everyone involved.
This one I really enjoyed in detail, so there were tiny moments that made it feel very realistic. Um, when they're in the bar for the first scene and they can kind of see inside through that little window and you can kind of hear the noise. But the breakthrough of them starting to sing and how that audio comes into play and they're distracted by it, it just made it very real. Um, and the any soccer or sorry rugby related scene, any bit of rugby, the way the audio was made it really feel like a game or a practice or whatever, whether it was the Foley, the sound effects, or just the cheering, the talking over it, that was all really realistic. And then I really liked the details of two moments. One when, I don't remember their names, but when the long blonde haired one came home and hugged the girl on the couch, she didn't know about the injury, but as she hugged her and kind of sat on top of her, the injured one like felt that pain of the injury, which she would have if that were true. So that was a good detail. And then I loved the detail toward the end when the boy catches the rugby ball and kind of goes back to his mom, and she's kind of indifferent about it because that's probably just the way her kid is, but just notices him gone, reaches back a hand to have him go. Like, that's such a mom thing. Not everyone stops and makes a big deal about it. Like, where's my kid? Where's my kid? Oh my gosh, you're here. I feel like a lot of films do that, so it was just a moment that I don't think I ever would have noticed as a really cool moment, but in this, it made me realize, like, those tiny realistic details matter.
Momentum was both very heartfelt and sweetly made. It definitely hits the rise to fame aesthetic when it comes to sports films, and I think it does a perfect balance of juggling that desire to follow your dreams and also the responsibility of cultivating a relationship. I think it does a very good job of blending both responsibilities together to create a very sweet ending.
I thought this film was really compelling and exciting to watch. I think that there's something really cinematic about sports. And I thought that the way that you shot the soccer games was really exciting. It made me feel like I was on the field with them. And the way that the camera was moving, it really put me inside her headspace. And it showed, I think, the speed and the stress and the strength of the sport. I thought that the acting across the board was really, really good. I felt like these characters were relatable. At the same time, I thought that their backgrounds and their stories and their reactions were really unique.
I thought that this one was pretty good. I thought the relationship at the center of the whole thing was pretty believable, due in large part to the two very strong lead performances here. The conflict throughout the film, it felt thought out, relatively complex, well developed, overall I think pretty well executed. And there was a good use of different settings throughout the film and different set pieces throughout as well that gave the film a sense of variety. Overall, I just thought that this was really solid, quite well done. And again, well acted, well written, well thought out. Things felt deliberate, and a lot of the set pieces here were good. So not a ton to say, but what I do have to say is all good stuff.
I was really impressed by Momentum. I think it was written and performed in a really naturalistic way that made it seem like the viewer was going into this couple's life and going into this family's life and viewing them. And, you see that with honestly everything in the piece. I'm thinking about the different rugby scenes and the different rugby games and the way that was framed as well. I mean, there's so many sports movies where it, you get to the actual playing scene and it's kind of like, what is going on here? But I think it was shot really well. I think the sound mixing in these scenes and in the piece as a whole, but in these scenes was done really well. And really the biggest takeaway I can give to this piece is that it was just really true to life. With those small intimate moments, it's really easy to over exaggerate them, both in writing and in the acting. But this piece really leaned on the naturalistic approach, and that's what makes it believable. And that's what allows the actors to have these moments where they can instinctually act upon what's going on in the scene rather than, amping it up to match whatever is written there, which can make it seem out of place and, really detract from the story. But you don't do that here. So I really commend you. A really impressive piece, a really nice story. Very, very well done.